wanted to talk about something that came out last week, actually, as early as yesterday. I was scrolling online and I found out that apparently the Chinese version of Arc Raiders is in beta testing mode right now. So there is going to be a Chinese version of the game coming out in China soon. And a lot of people have been testing the game. But I also found out some details about the differences between the Chinese version and the global version that we know and that we play. And it sounds like this version has some different types of modes, actually. And this is the thing that people have been complaining about. And it sounds like they even have some type of rat repellent mode, is what I'm describing it as. But I want to look at it and look at it in a little bit of detail. And this is coming from people who are more involved in the Chinese community online, because, there's a little bit of a difference between, Chinese Twitter, Chinese TikTok. I know Red Note exists versus, social media here in the United States. So they're kind of two separate entities just because, there's different laws and whatnot around how people use social media in China versus here. So it started with a tweet that I saw, which was this one. And it says, Arc Raiders Chinese version has opened its closed beta test. The version is being developed by Tencent and is only for players in China. It is an entirely different client from the global version. The announcement video has already received over 1 million views on Chinese platforms, and they dropped a trailer for it, which looks similar to the global version. But something that I saw also was this comment right here. Who seems to be a person who's more involved in, Chinese social media. And they said basically that Arc Raiders is not very popular in China. However, there is a loyal fan base that enjoys the game. And they said that Chinese servers has exclusive modes titled Double King and Rebellion Incident, which is interesting. And so I kind of started digging a little bit deeper. And then I saw this, which comes from Arc Raiders News, and apparently they got more information from some people as well who might be involved with, the Chinese side of social media. And they found these specific details about the different modes. Now, we have to take this with a grain of salt because I also tried to Google this information and I did not find anything specifying anything about the details about these modes on the Chinese version. So we have to take this with a grain of salt, and we have to assume that hopefully this information is coming from people in China who are actually playing the playtest, which again, we don't know. But I thought these modes sounded a little bit interesting. And Arc Raiders News says Arc Raiders Chinese client is getting exclusive map conditions and weapon skins, right? Which is very interesting, but a lot of people, we don't want to get too caught up in weapon skins and microtransactions and that kind of thing. I know that turns a lot of people off nowadays. But the exclusive map conditions is what caught my eye. So, safe zone. All raiders spawn as teammates, but players can defect. Doing so turns on a red backpack light and instantly makes you an enemy to every other player in the match. Now, that sounds terrible, to be honest. That sounds terrible. But again, this is the Chinese version. It has nothing to do with the global version. I doubt we'll ever see something like this in our version of Arc Raiders. However, I'm sure PvE crazies out there love an idea of this because they've been throwing out ridiculous ideas for rat repellents in the game for a while now. But we all know that there's plenty of rat repellents in the game already and a lot of util that you can use to keep yourself safe from rats. But the fact that you start off as teammates gives kind of like battle royale, but the fact that you can also defect is also kind of cool. I just don't like the red backpack light thing because, of course, that puts a target on your back just like these bounty systems that people have created, and I just don't like that. That personally for me doesn't seem healthy, but this is something that potentially might be in the Chinese version. So I thought that was interesting. And then they also have dual boss, which is the queen and matriarch appear on the map at the same time, which is whoa. That's kind of a lot. I'm not gonna lie. That is a little bit of a lot. And in this mode, it says to balance the encounter, supply boxes randomly drop throughout the area to keep players equipped, which I think is cool. So they're basically pretty much giving you free stuff in order to play in this dual boss mode. And I'm interested how a dual boss mode would go. I feel like that's too much. I honestly feel like that's a lot. I don't know about fighting two bosses. I mean, granted, if you do have a queen and a matriarch, or two queens or two matriarchs, that gives more loot to go around to people. Because I know the main issue that people have is bringing in a souped up loadout. You're bringing your equalizer, you're bringing your Jupiter. You put in a good amount of work to also help kill the queen, and you don't really get anything out of it. You don't get a queen core or a matriarch core. You don't get the blueprint from the you don't get a blueprint from the harvester because everybody's already ramsacked it. So I don't know. I see it in the sense that, it could be more loot to go around, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Seems kind of OP. I'm not gonna lie. And then they finish off, Arc Raiders specifically finishes off with, I honestly think Tencent is cooking. I don't know if they're cooking. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if they're cooking. I would not agree with that. But let's take a look. So we can see this image that we got. Now this one is in Chinese, so I'm not gonna lie. Oh, this one, this has the red backpack on it. So Damn Battleground Safe Zone. Thanks to persistent reconnaissance by the ambushers, communications in this region have been temporarily fully restored. Shani can now monitor all local illegal actions. So there's a rebellion mechanism where you start off as a team and you can defect, and then you become an enemy of the whole lobby, which, to be honest, does not sound fun. That does not sound fun at all. But again, I don't know. I don't know what's fun in China and when it comes to video games. And again, there's different laws and different like requirements of how people engage with, video games and media in China. So I don't know. I just don't find that to be a very fun experience at all. And then you can see an example of the dual boss mode here. Oh, so this is the English version of these. I see. So these are the English versions of what these say right here. So you can see in this image, in these images, you see the red backpack to identify defectors. And yeah, I don't like that. I'm not gonna lie. I would never want anything like this in the game, for real. That also kind of reminds me of something I saw online also with this right here. Like, everybody is so there's already so much to do to protect yourself in the game already. People are just lazy and they just don't want to play the game how the game is intended to be played. But that's a topic for another day. But I thought this was very interesting. I'm not gonna lie. This person who is involved with Chinese Twitter and Chinese social media also said, Rebellion event is almost a low difficulty mode. But there are a lot of resources in this mode. In this mode, players default that friendly troops cannot harm each other, but they can choose rebellion, and then the map will announce that there are rebels somewhere. Yikes. I don't like that. I don't like that. That honestly sounds like a miserable experience. I am not gonna cap. That sounds like not fun at all. But, I found that interesting. But let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think, actually, I personally hope not, but do you think we could see something like this in the future in the global version? Or do you just not like those ideas at all? But let me know. I don't know.